You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Doctor, tell me true. What's a heart like mine supposed to do? Doctor.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-Doc Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. Well, as if we don't have already enough, debate and drama and chaos as we're coming into the midterms, one thing that's really dividing people in the state and the country is to data center or not to data center. That is the question. Should the state hold a moratorium on new data centers and stop them from coming, stop them from growing? Do we institute guidelines? Or do we just let them do what they want to do because it brings in money to the economy and jobs? So I'm mixed on that because of the power grid. I understand in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, he's not necessarily banning data centers, but he's like, unless they could prove that they're, not taxing the grid, because Texas, they struggle with their power grid. Right now, Hawaii, because of Lala, hundreds of thousands of homes, lost their power. So your power grid needs to be preserved. And if these data centers are going to be really impacting the power grid, that needs to be, considered. If they're using water and local resources that your city residents need, if it's going to affect, noise pollution, regular pollution, heat, things like that, those are concerns. So states that are looking at bans or restrictions on data centers include Delaware. They are having a moratorium on those that use over 100 megawatts, I believe, of energy until January 2027. Georgia has restrictions. Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New York, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a 3-year moratorium paired with impact studies or empower municipalities to prohibit data centers. South Carolina wants to look at comprehensive oversight framework first. South Dakota, Vermont, Virginia, Wisconsin. Texas isn't listed in this, but Texas has changes that they are urging, in terms of water, recycling water, things like that. So there's an act, the Artificial Intelligence Data Center Moratorium Act, introduced by Bernie Sanders in March, and then matched in the House with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which I believe this would be then the first bill. Would this be the first bill that she's able to get through? But the Artificial Intelligence Moratorium Act calls for an immediate halt on building or expanding high-capacity data centers, typically demanding 20 to 50 megawatts or more power until national safety, labor, and environmental standards are enacted. So what's interesting with that is, I always have an issue with how we jump to do things without the infrastructure. And that's what we've always done. We jumped to something, and have we looked at the safety risks? Have we looked at the environmental impact? Have we looked at the economic impact? Like these candidates promising everything. And I go, did you actually kind of look at, you're promising childcare for all? And did you, how are you vetting the childcare providers? Do you have enough trained in childcare? I mean, where's the infrastructure first? Now, and so I agree that there has to be infrastructure on that. What I find fascinating about this is the big concern many of these cities and legislators have is what it's going to do to the electric grid. What are the data centers doing to the electric grid? Where was this passion when we were talking about EV mandates? I find that fascinating because the electric vehicles are definitely adding more onto the electric grid. So I'm kind of amazed that you have Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, who would have supported EV mandates, but now they're anti-data centers because of the electric grid. You guys, come on, pick one. Just no hypocrisy. All right? If you want to support the environment, that's great. Support the environment. But, just because something is called a Democrat thing versus a Republican thing, I really like bipartisanship. And if you notice, the states looking at moratoriums, they're right and left. Although I can't stand the idea of the concept of a blue state versus a red state. We're all Americans. Okay, when we vote, it's supposed to be for the betterment of the whole country. But you got the red and the blue. When you look at the states, you got the red and the blue, and involved in this. And so where I feel about this is, look, AI, it's not going anywhere. Okay, people fell in love with it. People want it. They fear it, but they don't have to do their homework anymore. They don't have to write a letter. They don't have to AI. I'm really ticked off with this. I'm trying to write an email and the co-pilot wants to write it for me. I go, let me write my own email. I don't want an AI generated email. I want to put my emoji. I want to put my smiley face, my XO, my personality. Every time I go online, it asks me if they want. In fact, I'm trying to wish happy birthday to somebody on Facebook, and the Meta AI wants to do it for me. I go, I can say happy birthday myself. I don't need your AI. And somehow tech is trying to get people so dependent on this AI. It's really ticking me off. I don't let us think for ourselves. Let us calculate for ourselves. Let us do fractions. Apparently there's a lot of college students that don't know how to do fractions. I get fractions suck. I hated doing fractions, but I had to learn fractions in 3rd, 4th grade. Okay, let us use our brains. Let us learn. And so unfortunately, tech really wants us to use their AI. And they know how to get us. How did they get me to do AI? When did I use AI? I used AI to make pictures of myself. They showed me that they could make me look better than how I really look. And I was like, oh, okay, you got me now. I can now AI all my headshots if I wanted to. My headshot is still real, but eventually I'm going to have to get a new headshot because that headshot, once a headshot is like over 5 years old, I think you need to do it. And it's getting close, but I could do an AI picture. Why do I need to, hire a photographer and then worry about, the wrinkles and hope that they Photoshop it? AI knows how to make me look good. In fact, one AI picture gave me a waist. I haven't had a waist in years. I'm like, dang. But with these data centers, they are going to bring jobs. They are part of our progress. And but I do agree that we should make sure we have the infrastructure in place first. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So the Daily Beast is saying there's a poll saying voters feel worse off under Trump. I beg to differ, because I'm hearing people and they're pretty happy about their 401ks. They're happy about their, retirement accounts. You got now Trump accounts for kids, and they're getting their GLP-1s for half the price and drug prices down. But the polls will always be, battering the incumbent president as we're coming up to midterms. And so according to the Financial Times, 53% of registered voters felt they are worse off financially today than they did in January. And so you're looking at these polls, and you see Trump, losing some of his luster, but I talk to people, and libs, Republicans, MAGA, Democrat, moderates, whatever. And what I'm hearing is something different. It's, he had to do it. Somebody had to deal with Iran. It had to be done. That's not, oh man, he didn't need to do that. That's kind of a different attitude. I'm even hearing that from Democrats. So it had to get done. Now, does he finish the job, or does he still, kitten glove? Are they going to put more kids in front of a building that needs to be bombed so that kids, what are they going to do using human shields? That's unfortunately what terrorists do. They'll use human shields so then they can turn around and do this PR campaign. But gas prices going up can hurt him in the polls. They say that his approval rating among Republicans has fallen by 8 percentage points over the past month. That's according to a Financial Times Focal Data poll. And the survey looked at 53% of registered voters saying that they are financially worse off, including 57% of independents and almost 1/4 of Republicans. So being financially worse off is going to drive changes as it pertains to the midterms. If somebody is looking at voting between biological men in women's sports, or addressing AI and job loss, they'll probably vote for addressing AI and job loss. Not that the Democrats are promising that. The Democrats are promising writing off student loan debt, free buses, free childcare, Medicare for all. As I said earlier, Medicare for all, you pay for Medicare still. That doesn't mean Medicare is free. And if you don't have enough providers, and Medicare, is frustrating a lot of people because it doesn't cover what private health insurance covers, and you're paying for it. See, a lot of people say, well, if it's free, I'm not going to complain. It's not free. People pay for Medicare. And then they have to pay for the extra coverage for the gaps that Medicare doesn't cover, like medications. So the DSA and that are trying to pull the Democratic Party apart and get people to vote for them are making all these promises. And so when I look at myself financially, things are more expensive than they were a few years ago. Employers are not paying more. I am making less money than I did. Absolutely. Gas prices are up. So technically, financially, I'm not doing as well as I did in Trump's first term. I'm doing better than in COVID, but I did way better in Trump's first term than I am now. Now, is that because of COVID? Is it because, when Biden said pay them more, employers, had to pay whatever they could to get employees to come back. So now your average sandwich or burger is over $10 or $12 or $20. It's ridiculous. Going out to dinner, you need some C notes. It's not easy to pay for dinner now. I am watching Silo on Apple TV, and I want to watch Ted Lasso. I go to my Apple TV, and they say you need to renew. How much to renew my Apple TV? $13 a month. So I like my Paramount, I like my HBO Max. I like my Netflix. I like my Amazon Prime. This is ridiculous. So, yeah, I am spending more. Now, does that mean it's Trump's fault? I blame Biden for a lot of that. Gas prices going up because of what's going on with Iran. I really do think what Iran, we really need to defang Iran. We really need that regime gone. Unfortunately, the people of Iran didn't have the ability to go and overthrow them because they are very subversive and obstructed, and they don't have access to weapons, and they couldn't overthrow the Iran regime and the Iran regime and these, because again, terrorists, just like cartel, they scare people into being on their side. So they're able to recruit, and even if somebody's like, I'll pass, they go, you pass, we kill your wife and rape her first. You know what? I'm on board. So they know how to, and they've been building this whole time during the ceasefire. So it's obviously a concern. And so, how big was this survey? 1,900 registered voters. Yeah, 1,900 registered voters. It's still a poll. It's still a valid poll. 55% disapproving of Trump's performance. But are they really disapproving of Trump's performance? What has he done that was so bad? He promised he got elected on securing the border. He secured the border. Now, I know the ICE and now deporting people who are here illegally, especially criminals, has been, I mean, some people say, he should have been more aggressive on deportations. Others say, well, that's been chaos because a couple Americans got killed in the process because they were fighting with ICE agents and it was chaotic and it wasn't run well. I don't know. It looks, the deportation that happens in Canada, in Japan and Germany and all these other countries, it looks like it's run well because they don't have to deport as many people. They had a secure border. But their deportation laws are stricter than ours. But we had this mess. So you have people not showing up for dates. You have, some of these illegal migrants running people over on the street, murdering, raping, killing, Americans. It's a mess. And now we have to root them out of a big country and get them out. We screwed up in the previous administration. So, yeah, it wasn't going to be popular. And we predicted this. We were like, okay, whoever gets in after Biden is going to have their work cut out for them and is going to be criticized for having to do that work. We knew that would happen. The average smart person understands, though. They do. But this is Trump's second term. And, some people, they don't like the ballroom. The ballroom is needed. Come on, people are shooting at Trump. People, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you know how that could have been dangerous for people? When somebody wants to shoot at Trump, they're shooting at other people. Look at how people died during the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. You got to have a space on the White House so you don't have to be renting out and using. In fact, somebody could argue it's going to save money because now you don't have to vet these hotels, like the Washington Hotel, where President Reagan got shot at. I mean, that hotel, if it struggles with security, and we have to pay a lot for security and for the, cleaning of it and all the other things they do, security cleaning, it's cheaper to just do it on site at the White House. But everybody wants to complain. So what would I have done differently with Trump? I would have probably hit Iran hard and faster. But again, what they did is they got kids somehow in the crossfire, and that was not good. And that caused everybody to slow down. Let Israel do their thing. Israel knows how to get in and do what they need to do, and I understand that they had to curtail because, President George Bush H. Sr., was like, oh, you know what, Israel, we'll handle it. Don't, deal with the Scud missiles. We'll handle it. And that's, sometimes, Israel kind of knows what they're doing. They could do very precise attacks on these bad people. But then again, we're only getting a piece of what's going on. And is it that people are really, really upset about Iran? Or are they just, upset that AI is taking over? Or that, their hamburgers and sandwiches are higher priced? Trump got eggs down. Trump actually did get gas prices down from Biden years. He got things down. But if you're paying your workers $20, $25 an hour, when a few years ago it was $10 an hour, those prices have been passed on to the consumer. And employees need more money because things cost more. Now that things cost more, you got to pay your employees more. So employers are like, I can't be paying my employees $20 an hour at McDonald's. So let's AI everything and hire as few people as possible. So rather than having 20 employees, if you have 10, you could still keep your head above water. And that's where we are. Is that Trump's fault? No, it's not. But coming up on the midterms, that could be an issue. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
And we're back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So some of you have reached out with your telemedicine experience being awful. You're very upset that your insurance is making going to an urgent care or going to a doctor in person so expensive, but they're shunting you to telemedicine companies only for you to be told you need to go see somebody. And so many of you have kind of asked for advice on how to utilize telemedicine to the best of your ability. So what's been happening with telemedicine is some people are loving it, some people hate it. The ones who love it are the ones where they have an issue, the doctor gives them what they want, and they're happy, and they're like, okay, that was great. And the ones who are not having as good an issue are the doctors that are being a little bit more scrutinous and kind of doing what they were trained, going, well, are you sure that's what this is? Are you... have you seen a medical provider? Are you, and also the ones that are following the guidelines. Telemedicine companies have guidelines. Many of them will not treat a UTI for a kid. Someone's got to check their urine sample. Like we've always checked urine samples for UTIs. It's amazing. Doctors always ask me going, how are you guys diagnosing UTIs over the phone? Don't you have to do a urine sample? I originally thought so too. But what a lot of telemedicine companies say, well, if it sounds like it and it acts like it, you could go ahead and treat. Now, I used to get busted in medical school if I would give somebody an antibiotic when they really didn't need one, or if I didn't confirm. But medicine is evolving, which is what we're going to also see with AI, where things that were, oh, hell no, you don't diagnose an ear infection by somebody saying an ear hurts. You look at the ear. Now it's changing. We're diagnosing ear infections without looking at somebody's ear. Mom thinks it's an ear infection. Kid's hurting. Kid has a fever. They get an antibiotic. So some of you are like, wait a second. If telemedicine is promising we could do this, how come I don't seem to have that same experience when I have an issue? Well, I told you, I had a patient that the telemedicine company I work for will treat diverticulitis over the phone. Diverticulitis is a severe infection of your left side of the colon. Diverticula is a pocket that you can get, and if seeds or something gets stuck in that pocket, it can inflame, infect, and it can actually perforate the bowel. Before the perforation, we want to start you on an antibiotic. Now, we used to confirm diverticulitis in the ER with a CAT scan. Now we're doing it over the telephone. So a person calls me, this is back in 2021, saying, I have a diverticulitis, give me the 2 antibiotics that I need. I've had it before. And I'm like, are you sure? Have you seen a doctor? When was your last scope? Has anybody, no, it's just diverticulitis. The antibiotics worked in the past. And he was coughing. And I go, have you had a cold? He's like, yeah, I've had a cough for the last few days. And I said, look, don't get mad at me, but I want you tested for COVID, and I want somebody confirming that this is actually diverticulitis. But it's in the left lower quadrant. I have diarrhea. I go, my spidey sense is telling me there could be something else going on. COVID? Why am I testing for COVID? I go, that's my recommendation. Get this reconfirmed and get tested for COVID. Well, thank God he went to the ER. He writes me the next day. I'm thinking he's going to rip me a new one. And he said, Doc, you saved my life. Not only did I not have diverticulitis, I did have COVID. And the COVID apparently made a blood clot in my left renal vein. I would have died if you just gave me an antibiotic over the phone. This was a telemedicine patient that thanked me for making him go in and get seen. Now, telemedicine has done amazing things in terms of, being there to, talk to patients and steer them the right way and actually treat things that needed to be treated. But when you're a doctor like me that has seen what was supposed to be simple, not like a woman saying she had asthma, coming into my clinic saying she had asthma and she didn't, she actually had a tumor on her heart. And if it wasn't for me doing what I was trained to just not take another doctor's diagnosis and actually examining her and doing the tests, we would have never found that she had a heart tumor and she could have been dead within months. And I'm not saying this because I want you to go, oh, Dr. Daliah, you were such a good doctor. I'm saying this because when you get a doctor on the telemedicine line going, I think you need to get checked out, don't call him a male body part. Don't call her a bitch. Understand that there might be something else that you have. And based on that doctor's experience, they might say, wait a second. I was trained that if somebody has blood in the stool, we got to make sure there's no cancer. Some of my colleagues weren't. They called it hemorrhoids. And one lost a young patient to rectal cancer. So if you get me, I'm, a little bit more conservative and not as liberal with, whatever you say your diagnosis is, because something could be up. Close friend of mine kept being diagnosed with a UTI. She didn't have a UTI. She had stage 3 cervical cancer. But nobody stopped to examine her. They just said UTI. You're having burning when you pee, if that's what you think. Remember I told you I had a patient in the ER come in saying she had a UTI? So she did have some inflammatory cells in the urine. I was going to treat her for UTI, but she was very nauseated. I give her nausea medicine. She starts to not breathe. Apparently, it wasn't a UTI that she had the night before. She had a heart attack. She felt bad the next day, so thought it was a UTI. She didn't know she had a silent heart attack. And then she was having the after effect with the nausea and then the difficulty breathing. And we were able to, thank God, save her. She was going to go home with an antibiotic for UTI. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you guys that your UTI is a heart attack, or that your UTI is cervical cancer, or that your diverticulitis is a renal vein thrombosis and a major deadly blood clot. I'm not saying that's what the average issue is. But we doctors were trained to make sure that wasn't the issue. Is AI being trained for a diverticulitis case where somebody types, I have diverticulitis, I've been diagnosed with diverticulitis, I'm having the diarrhea, it's diverticulitis. The AI will probably say, okay, fine, here's your antibiotics. They're not going to stop and use their spidey sense going, I'm hearing you cough. What confirmation did you have? Now, did I think he had a renal vein thrombosis? No. I would have never thought that. I just didn't think he had diverticulitis. Just like with that female patient, I just didn't think she had asthma. I thought there was something else. I might not have known what that something else was, but that's my job as a family doc. We weren't trained to diagnose cutaneous porphyria with our eyes blinded. We were just trained to go, something isn't right. Let me get you to the right specialist. And that's how family doctors save lives. Nurse practitioners and PAs. So you navigating telemedicine, you're like, well, I just want an antibiotic. How do I get that? Well, one is, be very, very descriptive about what your symptoms are. And don't try to memorize it off the computer. Two is let them know that you are being evaluated in person or that you are willing to be. Because a doctor's going to be like, what if I'm wrong? If you say, look, I plan on seeing somebody, even if it's urgent care, that might make them relax a little bit more, knowing that you're going to have an in-person exam. If you've had a workup, you've had multiple UTIs, and you've seen a urologist, and the urologist says this is not interstitial cystitis, it is a UTI, upload the records. Upload the records from your GI doctor that you have diverticula and you suffer from diverticulitis. And you might actually want to do that because as lawsuits are rising for these telemedicine doctors getting, like, for example, one telemedicine doctor is getting sued because he diagnosed acid reflux and the person was actually having a heart attack. But the person called up wanting acid reflux medication because they said I had acid reflux. Somebody calling me, telling me they have acid reflux, I always ask cardiac questions. I'm like, when was the last time somebody looked at your heart? Well, apparently the guy ends up having a heart attack. So now the doctor's getting sued because he treated him for acid reflux. Again, not to scare you that all acid reflux is cardiac, but anybody coming to the doctor for years saying they have acid reflux, we check your heart. Heartburn means you're having pain around the heart. Yes, it could be esophagitis. It could be some simple acid reflux, but it could also be heart. So talk to also your in-person medical provider and say anything you could give me to help facilitate my telemedicine appointments. But if a doctor is worried that you have something more serious, they're going to want you to see somebody in person. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799 and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So many of my students who I've taught, are reaching out to me, talking to me about their student loans, and many of them owe about $500,000. $500,000 for their medical degree. I'm like, really? Did you go to Harvard? No. Were you living in a mansion? No. Did you have a private driver? And it's ridiculous what people have been paying. And there's this article looking at the big 18 schools and what some of their tuition is. And this is important to know because with the election coming up, you're hearing a lot of these DSA candidates, the Democratic Socialists of America, say we need to wipe off people's college debt. All about wiping off people's college debts. And for me, I only borrowed the bare minimum I needed. I lived in apartments. I lived in people's backyards. I shared rooms. I didn't want to borrow anything more than I could pay. But now we have this concept of somebody else is going to pay your debt. And people are in more and more debt. You know, as I go to college graduations for friends and my kids' friends and, and my own college graduations, I'm looking around the room at the Thomas and Mack Center, looking at thousands upon thousands of people graduating school. Did they pay cash? Did they borrow? And you're looking at all these people in debt. UNLV, I believe it's about 10 grand a year. No, or 10 grand a semester. Plus then your books and your fees and all that. For in-state, out-of-state, it could be about 20, 30 a year. There's a good chance somebody had to borrow. They didn't have that kind of money. It's a lot of money. And UNLV, I went to, loved that school, but, that's still a pretty penny. If the Southern California University, for 1 year, it's going to cost you, out-of-state, $103,000 per year. So if somebody takes 5 years to do their undergrad, $500,000 to go to USC. It's a lot. Northwestern, $98,000 a year. Michigan, $88,000. UCLA, $84,000 a year. Oregon, $71,000 a year. Penn State, $70,000 a year. Washington, $67,000. Illinois, $65,000. Michigan State, $65,000 a year. Wisconsin, $65,000 a year. Ohio State, $64,000 a year. Minnesota, $63,000 a year. Indiana, $62,900. Rutgers, $62,700. Maryland, $62,000. Iowa, $54,000. Nebraska, $49,000. And Purdue, about $50,000 a year. So you could be in it for $250,000 for your degree, whatever it is. Business degree, pre-med. It's a lot of money. In-state for Southern California, $103,000 a year. Northwestern, $99,000 a year. Penn State, $46,000. UCLA, $45,000. So UCLA is knocked down to $45,000 a year for in-state, but still, that's a car. Illinois, $42,000. Rutgers, $41,000. Michigan, $40,000. Oregon, $40,000. Minnesota, $38,000. Michigan State, $36,000 per year. Washington, $36,000. Ohio State, $34,000. Maryland, $32,000. Iowa, $31,000. Wisconsin, $31,000. In-state. Purdue, $30,000. Indiana, $30,000. And Nebraska, again, good basketball, $28,000 a year. And football. Okay. That's a boatload of money. And that's just tuition. That's not including where do they stay? What do they eat? Their gas. Why do you and I, as taxpayers, have to pay for this? So with my sons, I had the conversation. They were like, Mom, I know you and Dad went to UNLV. I know you guys are rebels, and you want us to go. But we want to, we want to go out of state. I'm like, good. What money do you have? Are you going to apply for financial aid? Are you? Well, didn't you save for our college? We saved for in-state college. We didn't save for out-of-state because we have a mortgage and student loans and we need to eat. So we have money for your in-state, assuming you get the Millennial Scholarship and all that. We could handle both of your college education if you're in-state. Not a problem if you want to go out-of-state. Just you make it work. Go work while in school like I did, work, study, borrow student loans, go and do that. But I also asked them, I go, what school out of state? Is it that there's a program that you really, 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 really want, like at MIT, where it's the only school that would offer that program? No, we just want the experience. You have every right to do what you have to do, but you're going to then have to borrow. Well, luckily, they were smart enough to not want to be in debt. And they went to UNLV and they had a great time. And in fact, my son ends up meeting his future wife. And so my whole family has now gone to UNLV, even my soon-to-be daughter-in-law. Loved UNLV. Luckily, they had scholarships. We did have to still pay a few grand extra on top of their scholarships. And we did something called prepaid tuition. where our friend told us to, where in Nevada, you could prepay their 4 years tuition early on when they're younger, and you could actually transfer to a California or a other university because it'll pay per credit, even though it might not pay for the whole thing. So we did that, and that's how we were able to get through college. It still took a lot of money out of our savings, but at least they didn't borrow a boatload. They didn't borrow, to do $103,000 a year. So what we as America need to do is, if we are now being faced at the midterms with the discussion and the need to vote for somebody who's going to write off these kids' debt, why are they in this much debt? When is somebody going to tell these schools, stop it? Why are you charging $103,000 a year? What are you giving them? Gold-plated diplomas? Caviar? Well, it just, this is, and by the way, this isn't including Harvard and Yale and all that. These are just the big 18 schools. These are just, the common schools kids are going to. And these are some of the prices. We haven't even gotten to Ivy League pricing yet. So why do we taxpayers have to pay for that? If a student really wants to go to USC, go Trojans, I get that. That's what you want to do, then that's on you. Why does it have to be on me? I paid my student loans. But these students are getting screwed. This is why I had such an issue when I heard nurses were being charged $200K to get a nursing degree. Nursing programs shouldn't be costing them that much. Somebody is screwing over the students, and it's the universities. So what do? Well, you do supply and demand. If somebody doesn't have the money for $103,000 tuition, they're not going to go. And if there's enough people going, I'm not paying that, they're going to lower their prices. But we aren't seeing that happen because the way the system is the government will give them the money. Johnny, you want to go to USC or you want to go to UCLA? Fine, borrow the money. You're going to need this much. These kids would not qualify for a mortgage. They wouldn't qualify for a car loan with their income. Many of them aren't even working. But they'll qualify for a $500,000 student loan. Come on, man. The way to get these college costs down is to stop giving the colleges money from Congress. If we stop paying colleges, they got to drop their rates. And I see what these professors make. It's ridiculous. And they're not even on campus. They're working, 10 hours a week? Come on, man. It's ridiculous. So, and unfortunately, the politicians are going to be making us pay. They're going to say, let's just write off their debt. No. Tell these college campuses you're not going to get it. You're going to have limits from the federal government, which means if you want that a student to pay you $50,000, you're going to have to lower your rates to that. Otherwise, they can't afford to go to your college. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA1 today.